Hello and good afternoon, Michigan fans. It's Brandon Brown from Wolverine Digest here talking to you solo right now. Chris dealing with a little bit of Wi-Fi issues outside of the stadium. He tried to jump in. It just was so glitchy and so choppy. It wasn't going to happen. So if he's able to get that figured out, he'll jump into the studio. I'll gladly add him, and we'll continue talking about the game today. But for now, your boy has has commandeered a suite on the fifth floor of the press box, and nice and quiet in here. Was able to just kind of walk in. Whoever's in here is already gone, probably long gone after Michigan handles East Carolina 30-3. I'm currently looking at the giant new scoreboards, which are incredible. They are absolutely huge, and some of the clearest picture I've ever seen on a screen that big. I mean, looks like legitimate, full quality HD on these absolutely massive scoreboards, and they read 30-3. Michigan wins the game 30-3. Obviously not really challenged all day, but I wish Chris was here because I think we're both kind of I think we're probably both kind of feeling some of the same things we felt like all of last year for the first 7-8 weeks of the season before we finally just said, all right, it's not going to be that exciting, not going to be super flashy at a lot of times. And then you look up and they win by 30. Today was a 27-point win. The running game was not what Michigan leaned on. Instead, it was J.J. McCarthy in the passing game. J.J. was razor sharp. I mean, 26 of 31 for 280 and 3 touchdowns, all 3 to Roman Wilson, who looked right at home in the number 1 jersey. But I still just find myself coming away, and I'm tweeting stuff out as it's going on. Who's checking into the game, what's going on here, injury stuff, replay stuff, what we're seeing on the sidelines. I'm just kind of tweeting everything that I can as we're going on and the game's playing out. And I can't help but say what I think when I watch Michigan's first offensive possession of the game, which was unfortunate where they started from, down inside the 5-yard line. And then late in the third quarter when they've got first and goal from the 1 or the 2, I just can't. I'm never going to be the kind of football fan or someone who used to play or coach at a very low level that's okay with just running the ball up the middle 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row with no payout and no even thought of trying to change it around to get a little bit more creative and make it easier on your team. I mean, like, I know a lot of people had to clap back on Twitter like, oh, they're up 30. It's ECU. They're supposed to be able to get in. I mean, do you think that's what the coaches are saying? When they come to the sidelines and they can't get the ball in the end zone, or they can't move the ball at all in the first, possession of the game. I mean, to me, it's just like you've got a speed and an athletic advantage at every position on the field. Why not make it easier on your guys? I mean, even if you do punch it in on 4th down or 3rd down, like, that wasn't easy. It took you 2 or 3 or 4 tries to do it. So I'm never going to be okay with that approach. And we saw it a couple of times today, and I didn't like it. You've got, yes, a really good offensive line, which didn't look really good at times today. 2 stud running backs, which were, again, pretty pedestrian today in terms of production. I know Blake had the 1 big run, but other than that, they were kept in check pretty well. You've got a very mobile and athletic and versatile quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. You've got a future NFL tight end in Colston Loveland. You've got another tight end in A.J. Barner who goes 6'6", 250. You've got Roman Wilson and other guys out of the backfield. Split out wide that you can put in motion and do different things with. And I don't know. That's just not my cup of tea. Sure, you punch it in, you get a touchdown, cool. I just think there's easier ways to do it. I think there's easier ways to score a touchdown when you're down there with the team that you've got against the team that you're playing. So that's one of the things I listed in my 3 up, 3 down story that we'll publish as soon as this live is over. I'm never going to be okay with unimaginative play calling. Never. Even if it works, I still am like, I would have liked to see a bootleg. I would have liked to move the pocket. I would like to see JJ do some stuff. And I'm over the don't want to show too much. I'm over it. Score a touchdown. At the end of the day, they win by 27. Michigan's 1-0. It was really pretty easy. The timeout, 3rd down field goal kick to break the shutout. Hilarious. That is a hilarious move. I didn't think they were going to do that. I thought, if you get to 4th down, go ahead and kick your field goal, break your shutout, cool. But to call a timeout on 3rd down just so you can bring your kicking team out there and make a field goal to break the shutout 30-3. Okay, it is what it is. Yeah, I see a couple of you guys mentioning James Turner being a little shaky as Michigan's kicker. Look, he bombed a 50-yarder, and it probably would have been good from 55, 58. But he missed an extra point, which I started to think immediately. I was like, did Jake Moody ever do that? He didn't. Jake Moody was 148 of 148 on extra points during his time at Michigan. So, it's an extra point. It's not a big deal in a 30-3 win. And he does have a 50-yarder. He then missed a 52-yarder later in the game. But that's something that never reared its head at all with Jake Moody, and you hope that it doesn't come up later down the road and cost you something. Like that's where you have to put your concern. Today, no big deal. Later on, you never know. And, he didn't have a lot of really clean kicks. I know there were some that were kind of knuckling through the air, and maybe it was just his first game nerves here playing at the big house, playing with a new team. But he was accurate at Louisville. He obviously has the leg. He did make a 50-yarder, which is a new career long for him. And but yeah, something to be concerned about. And I know a lot of fans were concerned about that. As soon as Jake Moody was gone, weren't sure exactly who the kicker was going to be. People immediately started to think like, okay, that's going to be a step back, whoever it is. And that's probably true because Jake Moody was special, obviously drafted by the Niners. And is going to play in the NFL for a really long time. So that's kind of what happens sometimes when you have a stud kicker like that. Michigan did not punt today, so we didn't really get to see. Or if they punt, they may have punted a couple times. But Tommy Doman looked good on kickoffs. Punted just once or twice, if I remember correctly. 2 punts. Okay, so he averaged 44.5 yards on his 2 punts. I don't know. I ultimately just leave the game feeling a little bit bored and frankly just not overly enthused about a 27-point win. But that's kind of how this team rolls. It happened a lot last year, and they just march through everybody. And then they get in the big games, and they're still able to march through everybody. So, it's a love-hate thing when you look up and see a very lopsided win, but it just wasn't really that exciting. I see a couple people, a little concerned about the run game. Yeah, I would have thought that Michigan was going to be able to run it all over East Carolina today, up and down, left and right. Donovan, Blake, JJ, if he wanted to tuck one, you bring in Benjamin Hall, you run it with Kalel. I didn't think it would matter. And that's not what happened. Michigan was only able to eke out 122 yards rushing and only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Like, Jim Harbaugh is not going to be happy with that. Sharon Moore is not going to be happy with that. That is not a number that Michigan wants to put up against a team like ECU, and give them credit. I thought they flew around. I thought they were in the backfield. I thought they were disruptive. I thought they made some plays. But yeah, the offensive line just didn't look dominant like a lot of people thought that they would. And that's why, you're happy with the win, but it didn't happen how a lot of people thought. It really looked like Michigan was going to be able to run the ball. Instead, JJ was able to move around and throw it pretty much all the time. To Douglas's point right there, yeah, most teams are going to come in and try to stop the run and say, beat us through the air. And JJ is going to say, thank you very much. I will do that. I mean, I tweeted something about it early in the game. It was like, jumbo set after jumbo set. Trente Jones was in the game as the 6th offensive lineman all the time. They'd bring in Max Bredesen. They'd bring in the big tight end, A.J. Barner. A couple runs that wouldn't work. Get to 3rd down, JJ would throw to a wide open receiver. 1st down, here comes the jumbo set again. Like, it went that way almost all day. Then there was a little bit of a stretch where they were airing it out a little bit more, back-to-back passes, boom, 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 right down the field. 3 touchdown catches for Roman Wilson. So, you wonder what it would look like if they were really tested. You wonder, what kind of play calling you might see if they really needed to pull out all the stops. You wonder, if it was a little bit of rust getting Blake Corum back in there, getting Donovan Edwards back in there. But yeah, the run game wasn't what most people thought it would be for Michigan against ECU, averaging just 3.9 yards per carry. And really, really not dominant on the ground. Blake Corum had the 1 rushing touchdown, but that was it. The other 3 came through the air via JJ McCarthy, 2 Roman Wilson. So, yeah, also didn't love. I just, I feel like I'm going to bag on the kid, and I don't want it to sound like that at all. But when you're Michigan and you recruit the way that you recruit, I don't really understand how Jake Thaw is your number one guy at punt returner. And that may not be the case when some other guys get back from injury and you've got some people healthy that are not right now. But, he didn't make the best of decisions back there. And I don't know, just it's another one of those things where it's like you feel like you're nitpicking and complaining about stuff when Michigan wins 30-3. And it was, I don't even know. I mean, you really might not have to even wash Michigan's uniforms. Like, I don't know if they even broke a sweat today. It just felt like it was that kind of easy game for them, and they didn't really have to try that hard. And even though the running game wasn't working, it's because East Carolina wasn't going to let it. They were just taking that away, selling out. But then again, that comes back to, I mean, if I know that sitting up here, and I'm sure the announcers talked about it, and that everybody knows you want to run the ball, mix it up and then. Where's the creativity? Where's like a play action down at the goal line and a little dump over to Barner or Colston probably would have been wide open. And it wasn't even looked at or tried. I'm sorry, but like a play action dive and a pass to the tight end, either right over the line or dragging or a post corner, is not showing your hand. Those are offensive plays down by the goal line that are as old as the game itself. That's not it's not tipping your hand. That's using the defense's aggression and stacked box against them and making a play to score a touchdown. I mean, I know you're playing ECU. I know you're up 30. I know you're pretty much doing what you want at different times, but the offense's goal on every possession is to score a touchdown. I don't know why you wouldn't try to do basically whatever you can to do that. Give your guys some confidence. That's another thing. When you run it 4 times up the middle and the offensive linemen aren't getting a great push and the running back is getting stuffed at the line, that doesn't make them feel very good. It doesn't make them feel like they're doing their job very well. So it's a confidence thing. It's about putting your guys in a position to succeed. Again, no Jim Harbaugh today. I mean, maybe he said, look, you get inside the 5, I want all runs. If that's what the head man said, before he left for today for his suspension, I don't really expect Jesse Minter to change course on his own on the fly. I don't know. Those are some of my initial thoughts. I mean, everybody knew Michigan was going to come away with a win today. They did by a lot. Did not cover the spread. That was an interesting number also when Michigan could not get in the end zone down there, up 30. A touchdown would have made it 37-0. That would have covered the spread. Then you wonder how the final possession would have went where, ECU kicked the field goal. Anyway, yeah, just one of those things again where you're watching the game. Michigan's up by a lot. They're going to win. A win is a win. And you just kind of leave. You're like, well, I guess next Saturday, another game. I don't know. I just wonder, of everybody out there who watched it, whether you were at the game or watching it from your house, I can't imagine you're all that excited about what you saw. JJ was really sharp. Roman Wilson looked really good. Colston Loveland seemed to be running free multiple times today. Donovan Edwards split out wide. Love seeing that. Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, both in the backfield at different times. Some of the young freshmen got in there. Cornelius Johnson looked pretty sharp. I mean, there were some things that you really you could really say went pretty well. But I mean, I think there's a lot where you're like, damn, Michigan could have done a lot of things better, could have been more efficient here, more efficient there. I just try to think about, what are the coaches saying right now? They're going to watch that tape and be like, shoot, there's a lot of stuff we can do better. They're not going to walk out of there and be completely happy with how that went, despite a 27-point win. And that's a lot of times what I will say, on Twitter when I say, that's frustrating. That's not how that should look. Michigan should score a touchdown when they're down there. And you have people respond that's like, oh, it's chill out. It's just one game. It's 30-0. It's not that big of a deal. That's not what the coaches are saying on the sidelines. That's not what they're going to be saying when they watch film on Monday. So why would you say that? That's not the point of the game. So, yeah, I don't know. I think there were some things that you can say really went well. I think there's some things that you can say did not go so well. And that's to be expected a little bit in the first game of the season. Some weird circumstances with no head coach, no OC. But ultimately, Michigan was picked to win by more. A lot of people who predicted the score predicted it to be much, much worse. And at the end of the day, Michigan is 1-0 with a 30-3 win over East Carolina. I think player of the game is J.J. McCarthy or Roman Wilson, kind of go hand in hand. J.J. was so sharp. Really only had like 3 missed throws. Roman Wilson dropped one early on for one of the incompletions, and then Roman was spectacular with the 3 touchdowns. So I think you give a game ball to both of those guys and call it a day, and get tuned up and geared up and ready for next week against UNLV. So there you have it. There's a 15-minute recap of the game. Chris out there, he just texted me actually and said, yeah, we're going to have to figure out another solution for post-game moving forward. Don't like the idea of not being on the live. Well, yeah, I mean, that's, outside of the stadium and down there, the Wi-Fi is really, really spotty. And as soon as everybody files out of the stadium, like cell phones just stop working altogether. So, it is what it is. There you go. 15 minutes, a little bit of a recap. Chris and I will be back live on Monday at 7 o'clock. Michigan 1-0, 30-3 over East Carolina. Keep it locked at WolverineDigest.com. Lots of content coming there from Chris, myself. Trent just got back from the press conferences, so we'll have a bunch of stuff ready to roll for the rest of the week and moving into game week for week 2. All right. Yeah, I'm a little lonely. That's Chris's mom right there. I am a little lonely. Usually I have, somebody I can bounce these ideas off of, get a little goofy with, but just sitting by myself in a suite looking down at the stadium and the scoreboards, not as fun as I do. Not as much fun as when Chris is on here with me. So we'll get that figured out, and we'll be back next week for our post game for sure. But before that, we've got 3 shows coming up Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 o'clock. And please go check out WolverineDigest.com as often as you can. Thank you.